So tonight we're doing just some different ways to sell honey. And we have Cheryl Burkhead who are going to join us and talk about when we're done. So kind of take notes of what you've been doing. We're actually gonna, and everyone's gonna share how they've been selling honey. So I'm gonna stop my video. So I got did I lose everybody?
No, but your audio's coming in.
Your audio's bad, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. Cheryl, I heard going first. And then at the end, we'll go around and everyone will get to share what they do. I'm gonna mute myself. So I just want to say that you can, whoop, am I muted? No. That if you're doing the Great Plains Master Beekeeper program, any programs going forward, counting the last one, you can get educational credit for those. You'll just need to submit your hours, and that's all I can think of. Okay. Next month, we're going to do, I think we're going to do animal treats, all things pets. So watch for that. And I want to apologize. I obviously struggle every month with updating the Zoom link with the title and what the program is. So it's always what I publish and not necessarily what you get in your email. So whatever. Anyway, sorry, I just can't get the hang of it. So Cheryl, go.
Am I good? Can everybody see that?
Yeah, we can see your
Okay, good.
screen.
For those of you that are unfamiliar with my story, I started beekeeping in 2014. I was in my early 50s at the time, and I had a vegetable garden, and I just wasn't seeing pollination like I wanted. So I begged my husband into letting me get a colony of bees and to put out near the garden. And I had no intention of having a bee business really at that time. I just needed some bees for pollination. Well, for any of you that have kept bees for a while, you know, one colony soon became 3 the next year and so forth. And now I'm currently running around 100 hives in eastern Shawnee and western Douglas counties. Here was my first colony that I bought a package from Cecil and Jolie that year. And I was really lucky just having one colony. We usually encourage people to have 2 so they can compare. This yard, my backyard is within flying distance of black locust. And so I got an early flow to help the bees grow. Before things got really, really hot that year. And so I already had a super of honey, and it was the first part of July. And I remember asking Becky, should I add another super? And she said, well, yeah, you can. They won't do anything with it. There's nothing to protect. It's just foundation. But everything was so dry that the bees, I think, had to survive by going and working soybeans. And so I had a huge acreage across the street of soybeans. And so they filled out and drew out a second super within 2 weeks during a really, really hot and dry period in July. So my first year with one hive, I made about 70 pounds of honey that year. So I was really lucky. Extracting honey for the first several years was fairly simple, and it only took a day or 2. My parents typically came over to help. Supers were hauled into the garage, and we had a 4-frame manual tangential extractor. Most of my honey was sold to friends, neighbors, relatives, co-workers, and I was lucky to have any remaining by Christmas time, or at least after Christmas, I was be sold out. But as colony numbers grew, more honey was produced, and harvest became a bit more cumbersome. The laundry room soon became the dehumidifying room, and buckets of honey lined under the bar and around the perimeter of the dining room. Wet supers were stored in the basement, which was very tiring to take 50 supers up and down the stairs each spring and fall. So in the fall of 2019, we broke ground for a building in which I could do my extracting. I still wasn't thinking necessarily that this was a business per se, even at that time. It was my hobby on steroids. And I had talked to several other beekeepers and got their input on buildings and so forth before we began. The walls, I show a picture of that. The walls on the right are called truss core, and my husband went all the way to Columbia, Missouri to fetch a trailer full, because that's the closest manufacturing plant during the height of COVID. They're kind of like what you'd use in a car wash. They can be hosed or wiped down, and they're awesome to have in your honey shop. The pandemic, like I said, had just started, so there was lots of restaurants going out of business in 2020, and so stainless steel was easy to come by. So we picked these up from a pizza shop in Baser, and I expanded to a 20-frame radial extractor, which is awesome. Now we just bogged down on the uncapping end of things, but we typically run 2 uncapping tanks, which are manned by myself and either my husband or my dad, who is 90 years old this year. And it's wonderful not having the kitchen and the laundry room tied up for days to a week on end with honey extracting, plus all the sticky mess in the house. This picture here is for Jolie because she says you never build a building big enough, and she's right. I do all my beekeeping tasks from this building, and I can't imagine how I did it all those years prior before, it was constructed. I'm on a fairly busy road just southeast of Topeka. So I just posted a sign in my yard with a phone number, and I sell eggs as well because I have chickens. And the sign paid for itself the next day after I sold a 5-pound jug of honey. I have additional products for sale. So when the customer comes in for honey, they see an assortment usually of soaps, lotion bars, lip balm. It's easy. I don't have to haul heavy honey to events and that sort of thing. Customers can drop by at their convenience. Many have been long-term customers, and they just text me and arrange for a pickup. I can leave it outside the door if I'm busy, like in an ice chest. And during COVID, they really liked it because they could pull up and stay in their cars, or I did do some door deliveries at that time, which I still do a few. I have routine customers that come back, and if they bring their jug rinsed out, I will refill it from the bottling tank. And because I'm not providing another label and another container, I give them a little bit of a discount if they bring their bottle back to have it refilled. I started making other value-added products for a couple of reasons. I wanted to have something else to provide customers at the holidays that they could buy, and also my customers were asking for other things. So plus I had plenty of wax from all the extracting, and I needed to do something with it. So that's how I kind of got into doing other items besides extracted honey. I had taken several soap making classes from both Jolie and Becky, at least 4 times, and even some with Susan that was auctioned off by Jolie. But I finally got up the nerve to do it on my own. If you've not attended a class that Becky or Jolie give, you really should. They're both so great in helping and answering questions, and they freely share their knowledge about soap making. I do custom orders, especially at the holidays. I've filled orders for baby showers, bridal showers, corporate gift baskets. I do bulk sales of honey and other products. Gift baskets. I like to customize labels, especially lip balms during the holidays. I've also done custom labels for wedding favors. Just a sales tip. You'll sell more product when you can customize your product for the season. Like these honey bears with Santa hats. I probably don't sell 2-ounce bears any other time of the year. You put a Santa hat on it, you mark it up to cover the expense of buying that Santa hat, and you're going to move more product. But you guys probably already know that. I have hives at Dragonfly Farm, which is south of Stull, which is east of Topeka, between Topeka and Lawrence. And they allow me to set up a booth in the fall for the 2-day event, the Kaw Valley Farm Tour. It's one of my favorite events. I enjoy the face-to-face interaction with the public and often field numerous questions about bees and beekeeping. It's a wonderful opportunity to educate the public and sell some product as well. You'll do better with your sales, in my opinion, if you can offer them something for free. I usually bring flower seed from my yard to share. So it's a win-win situation for myself and the pollinators. For those of you like Chad and Jolie and Cecil, who do numerous farmers markets on a weekly basis, I don't know how you do it. It is exhausting. Just this 2-day Kaw Valley Farm Tour is just absolutely exhausting for me. So I can't imagine those of you that do it on, every week. I do sell product at a vendor market. Barb's Country Barn is on South Topeka Boulevard. My display is right inside the front door, which is an awesome location. People can come in, grab and go. It's convenient for them. It's an extension of my place here at the house, and it's closer into town. So a lot of times I'll leave product there if I don't have something on display that they're wanting, if they text me. And they also have several vendor events throughout the year where you can actually meet and greet customers behind a table. And I typically will do the Christmas event, but I find that I sell almost as well by just maintaining my regular display area. This would be equivalent for you guys in the Kansas City area. This would be similar to the Painted Tree Boutique in Overland Park, if anybody's familiar with that. And when I was there the last time, there was no honey vendor. So I'm just throwing that out there. And then this is my spring display. I change it up on occasion. There's a lady in the Barb's Country Barn or boutique type thing that sews table runners and hot pads with these cute bee themes. So sometimes they're displayed around my booth as well. So we both benefit from each other. Within the past several years, I've expanded into bee sales. I make anywhere from 30 to 35 nukes with my own colonies each spring, and I purchase mated queens. I've done a few packages. I could do many more, but having enough time and help to do so has been the major hurdle for me. And of course, I learned how to graft queens in just my second year of beekeeping, so I usually have queens available as well. My business page is on Facebook, which has its own set of challenges. I think they throttle viewership and they want to try to get $5 out of you, so your page will be shared with more people on the internet and so forth. But I also have a site on Shop Kansas Farms that has a link to my business page as well. I do post on Nextdoor. Nextdoor, for me, it's Nextdoor Barrington, but you can have other surrounding neighborhoods around you that you can expand your reach. There's also some buy and sell sites. I don't do a whole lot of business through Nextdoor buy and sell, but I just thought I'd throw that out there. Just a word on marketing your product. I'm definitely not the best at advocating what I sell, but how you present your product can make all the difference in the world. For instance, if I'm going to try to sell comb honey, I'm going to do far better displaying a picture like the one at the bottom right than a picture of a beautiful section of comb in its case, showing that honey, even in Kansas, can have an assortment of beautiful varietals, gets lots of attention as well. but you better have all varieties available when you post something like that. I found that out the hard way when I posted the picture of the 4 varietals to my page last year. Many times you can get a higher price or command a higher price for the water white, black locust, and other varietals. So just thought I'd throw that out there as well. Any questions? Or if you're going to field questions at the end, Jolie, after Susan presents.
We could do it either way. Marcia Harmon had a question in the chat about where did you get the Santa hats?
I got them online on Amazon, and I would encourage that you order them now, because they do get kind of runs with people buying them. So
Like what's like, is it a size? What did you do?
I was trying to think. I could send her a link. I can't remember what the darn sizes were. I actually, the first time, some of them will actually have multiple pictures and you can kind of measure your dimension and see what would work. And I bought a couple, just, one package of, like, I think they came in a package of 30, just to see what they were like, because, you're getting some of that stuff from China and Lord knows where. And sometimes the quality is not the same. So once you find one, keep it in your little favorites or your Amazon, save for later. And then I just reorder it every year as long as I can find it. So I've already ordered mine for this Christmas. So anyway, but I could find that for you, Marcia. I just got to pull up my Amazon stuff.
Anyone else have any questions for Cheryl?
Okay, I think I got it. Anyway, sorry about all that. All right, these are just a couple of photos of the little farmers market I do at Auburn, the Auburn Farmers Market. I do a really simple setup there. It's a very small market. Here's actually the start of my thing. Got bees, got honey, now what? And this shows our first hives that we had. And we bought 2 established hives from a gentleman that was wanting to get out of beekeeping. We had Christy Sanderson come and look at those with us and to determine the health of those hives. And we bought them in October. They made it through the winter fine. And then we also got a new package that next spring. And so our first actual summer, we were able to get quite a bit of honey. That shows me, taking the honey supers off. We did the drag or the brush and walk to the box with each frame, one at a time, very slow go. And then that's Bruce harvesting, getting ready to extract the honey. Now I'm not getting it to change. Oh, okay. So this is our first harvest. We got quite a bit of honey that first year, which we were thrilled about. Cheryl let us borrow her extractor, her hand crank extractor, and she came over and helped us harvest. That's us again, just harvesting. Anyway, I do a whole bunch of different small things. I've kind of tried to keep my honey business or my marketing of my honey on a small scale. So I do that small farmers market in Auburn. And I have, that market, and I know of some others that have either no fee at all to participate or very low fee. So that's an advantage of a smaller market. You can do a simple setup. It doesn't have to be very elaborate. And I use it also as a place that I can have my customers come pick up honey So instead of having a lot of people come to my house, I do let people come to my house to get honey, but I don't, that's not a preferred method for me. So it gives me a place to say, I'll have your order at the farmer's market on Tuesday. You can come there and pick it up. And I've developed a very loyal following of customers at that small, farmer's market that way. I also have honey at an antique mall and a vendor's market. And that type of place, you sell your honey in your own booth space. I have other things for sale in that booth, as you can see by the pictures. For me, it's a time saver because my honey is there for sale and I'm not having to man that booth the whole time. Another advantage is lots of foot traffic, comes through there. So I've found that I sell a lot of honey at those two places. So I've had good luck with that. You do have to pay rent, a booth rent fee, which so you've got to make sure that you're selling enough product to make it worth the money that you're having to pay for rent. And also some places charge a commission also. I have done quite different craft shows, seasonal things around the holidays and in the fall. So these are just some of my setups at some of those types of events. And those are, there's usually a lot of those in the fall and around Christmas time and the holidays. Maybe not so much other times of the year. I've done also special events like a holiday market, the Sunflower Festival, garden and pollinator events where they'll let some vendors come and set up, a booth to sell their product. I do the Auburn Fair, and I do a little bit more of an elaborate setup there with some educational things, posters and flyers and things, that people can pick up to learn more about beekeeping and what the opportunities for beekeeping and education are out there for them. So I do a little more of that at a thing like the fair and other events like that you want to do some education on bees. Other ideas, and I've done some of these, not all of them. Churches sometimes have events where they have vendors come in. I have set up at a couple garage sales with a table with my honey for sale. I've done different fairs, craft shows, festivals. I have done a couple educational talks with groups, and then they've allowed me to have a little table with some of my products for sale at that event also. I did have honey at a chiropractic office for a while, and that was just they wanted to have some honey available for their clients. And so that worked out fairly well. They have moved from their location, and so I don't have honey there anymore. So, antique malls, garden clubs, sometimes we'll have like a little, that would be like an educational talk about bees, and then you could have maybe honey for sale there. And I do have that booth at the Topeka Vendors Market. Like Cheryl, I've done favors for weddings and also baby showers. And I've done a couple ladies' night out events where they've had vendors come with their products, and that's worked out fairly profitably for me. Anyway, that's I kind of do a little bit of a lot of different things to sell my honey. I think you have to find kind of trial and error and decide how much time you have to market your honey. Are you comfortable with people coming to your home to buy? Are you, comfortable, selling at a public market where you're having to talk with a lot of people? So there's just a lot of time is a big thing. How much time do you have to spend on marketing your products? So you have to decide what your comfort level is and kind of just what works for you. Anyway, that is pretty much how I do do a little bit of delivery, like Cheryl mentioned, but I prefer to have people come to pick it up. If I have several orders and I'm going to be out and about, I'll offer to drop it off or deliver it. But I really have used the farmers market for a spot where people can come to pick up orders, and that's worked well for me. So any questions?
There's a few in the chat box. Let's see. A couple people put in, are these the Christmas hats? So when you're done, look at them and see if those are right.
Yes, I think one of my pictures shows those similar hats that Cheryl bought, and I did get mine on Amazon. Also, I put them on the small bears, not the little 2 ounce, but the like an 8 ounce bear.
Those
and
are
I could barely squeeze them on.
Yeah. The ones
you have to be careful what you make sure you're getting a size that's going to work for what you want to put them on.
I think that's slide number 7. There you go.
Yeah, there's that one has some. I think there's another picture too somewhere that had.
Roger posted one, and they're bigger than the lollipop ones.
Yeah, and they are made of different. I've gotten 2 different from 2 different sources, both on Amazon, and they're made of different fabrics too. So, you have to kind of decide what you like. But
well, I made mine out of felt, so this is an eye opener to purchase them.
Yeah, there's several different people on Amazon that have those for sale, different sizes, different fabrics.
I was thinking the one I had for the little bears was 1.25 inch, but I'll look it up here.
And Matilda wants to know how you determine different kinds of honey if the bees have access to many fields and sources of nectar. So Cheryl, like how you
well, I mean,
keep it separate and all that stuff. So
I have yards that are on black locust, and your spring varietal, it's going to be lighter as well. You can either, if you don't have that many hives, you can actually do 2 extractions. If you have a lot of hives and a lot of honey supers, you can go through your yards at about the start of the yellow sweet clover, and those supers that are essentially filled but not capped yet will be spring varietal. And you can I use frog tape, and I'll tape the back of the super, and I'll put spring or something like that on it. And then when I pull, I'll pull them and keep them separate, and I'll spin it separately. That's how I do it. So to get a spring versus a summer varietal. And then for your fall, if you're going to try a fall, or if you're on like buckwheat or something like that, you can get your darker stuff.
We used to move hives down to some sunflower fields for pollination, and we got a sunflower varietal honey. 3 or 4 years we have done that. We haven't moved them for the last, is it 2 years, Cheryl? I don't think.
I was down there one time, but
it's been a couple of years.
Sometimes the weather's so crappy that basically the bees just fill up the brood nest. Plus sunflower honey crystallizes so quickly too.
It is a little darker, but it's really good tasting though.
Yeah.
another question is about, I'm guessing both of you have commercial kitchen clearance. You know, we've talked about that as at a different meeting,
No,
but so far, I don't think that you guys have to for where you're selling, except maybe at the antique mall since someone else is selling that for you, but I don't know. You questioned him about that.
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
talked about that and they said that as long as it's, what is it, Cheryl, less.
A facility that's selling less than 200 cubic
200.
feet of food, and that includes your display plus your storage,
That's right.
is
Right.
fine.
Yeah,
And
so
it's not like a consignment shop where you're putting your bottled honey on a shelf and that person's selling it for you and they essentially bought it from you and then they're marking it up like $2 or something. So it's not really set up like a consignment.
And the other thing is there's people on here from other states, but in Kansas, if you sell directly to the consumer at a farmer's market or a craft show, that sort of thing, you do not need a commercial kitchen. You don't need to put any signs on. In Missouri, you can do it, but you have to put a label on your bottle that says not packaged, not processed in a commercial kitchen or something like that. So, but in Kansas, it's a cottage law that you do not have to have a commercial kitchen for certain methods of selling. And so
Susan and I, neither one of us make any infused honeys. We don't make any creamed honeys. So, you can do like it comes straight out of the hive. So you can do extracted, I can do comb, I can do chunk honey, I can put honey in bottles or honey sticks. I just can't add anything to that.
yeah, when you add value to your honey, then you have to have a commercial kitchen.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's-
hi. I thought that there was something if you didn't sell direct to consumer, which I thought included like the antique mall, like just even a display at the antique mall. I thought that's where the commercial kitchen thing came into play, if that's what I remembered from that other presentation.
the
No.
state, well, we had was it on a value added program, Jolie?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
They said that you can do it at an antique or, craft mall, antique mall, vendors market. If it's a small area within that, sales area.
Oh, yeah, I remember it had to be, there was a certain dimension, but it was super small. It was like 10 by 10 by 10. So it didn't account for very much space. But if you accounted for how tall those antique malls were, that's where I thought that was kind of not going to work.
No.
No, she questioned him, and I think she questioned him afterwards, and
Yeah.
they were
Matt
okay.
Brandis's program that he just did at the Fun Day,
Right.
he said that after talking with the state inspector, and getting all his information, that was fine to do without a commercial kitchen.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
So the other thing neither of you mentioned is, I know, Cheryl, you sometimes sell in 5-gallon buckets.
Yeah, I do bulk sales. So, and I didn't specifically go into it, but I do bulk sales in 5-gallon buckets. So that's 60 pounds of honey, and I sell those you could sell, I didn't really want to go all this wormhole of business stuff, but you can sell bulk sales to like a bakery. You can sell bulk to a place that makes mead. I can sell bulk to other honey vendors that have a commercial kitchen that need more product because they're selling more than they can make themselves. So there's that. And it's not wholesaling. Wholesaling it's so confusing, but I can do bulk sales. And Matt narrowed them down to saying, well, what's bulk? Well, 5-gallon buckets, not 5-pound buckets, or gallons, Anything that's easy to pour out of is not considered bulk. But I can sell in the 5-gallon buckets. And I like that because I don't pay sales tax on that.
Because they do.
Yes. So I'm out, and sometimes I get my bucket and my lid back. They like the Gamma lids that screw on and screw off better than some of the other stuff I can send with them, and they transport with it. And sometimes they'll bring me my bucket and the lid back, because the Gamma lids are over $10 a lid now. The buckets are easier to get. I mean, I can pick up a food grade bucket at Menards. You have to look for food grade because they have the other stuff too. If you get shipped buckets from Uline or something like that, the shipping gets just stupid. So if I can keep my bucket, all the better. And then that we just exchange, they bring the buckets back and I give them out a new set. So that's easy for me. It helps me get rid of, all the honey that the bees are making. And it goes in a different column because it's not a taxed. There's no sales tax I pay on it. So that's nice. And of course, Governor Kelly in the state of Kansas now, as of January 1st, your honey is taxed at a lower rate than, say, the lotion bars and the soaps and all that kind of stuff. So it's, there's certain programs, I think Square figures that out for you now, and based on, where you're selling it from. I mean, I'm still old school. I just keep a spiral notebook and then put it on Excel. And I asked my accountant for my sales tax, but most of my sales are here. The areas outside of here, like the Barb's, the vendor market is in Topeka, and she pays the sales tax, not me. And the bulk sales come out of here, and I don't pay tax on it. But yeah, you've got to track all of that stuff now too, because you don't really need to be paying that much tax on your honey because it's a food product.
Let's see. Jessica says, which is silly, we have people selling jams, jellies, pies, breads, and those things are made in their home kitchens. I feel the rule law needs to be changed.
I think for the state of Kansas, you really are still supposed to have a food processing license if you are selling jams and jellies, even at a vendor's market. But
you might not get caught, but that is the law in Kansas. Yeah. And I know people who sell jams and jellies, and she's actually watched them make every kind because they're a whole lot more dangerous than people think they are.
You can gift them. And I know that one picture I have kind of is misleading because there was some jelly on that one because I was looking for something for our presentation. I gift honey baskets to my land owners at Christmas. And I usually do honey theme. So everything they get from me is honey based. So I do some elderberry jelly. And so I probably took that picture in the fall, and I was also gonna put their baskets together. But you can gift jams and jellies, but you better not ask, better not try to sell it.
Very good. Any other questions of these two, and we'll move on? Great, you guys did a great job. Well, we're gonna kind of go around and people can say what they've been doing, what they do. I'll just kick it off so I can get it over with. Cecil and I do 2 big farmers markets. I do the Overland Park Farmers Market that's been voted the #1 farmers market in the country. I used to also do tons of craft shows. I've quit doing all the craft shows except for one. Are the farmers markets, like Susan said, the fees are so reasonable. And some of the craft shows I would do would be $450, $550. If I cornered, it'd be $650. It might have been a 3-day craft show. I'd be outside, it'd drizzle all weekend. I'd paid all this money for a booth and, and if I just had done my farmer's market that I have like $15 invested in each week. I also had an online store that I had to set up at the beginning of COVID because one of my markets when we had a drive-throughs. I have since online market off. I just did that 2 weeks ago because I couldn't keep up with keeping that dated with what I had in stock, what I had made, changing prices. And honestly, I just couldn't stand shipping stuff out. And I just decided if someone wants to buy something from me anymore, they have to be standing in front of me. So that's about it. I don't sell any honey in bulk. I don't sell anything bigger than a gallon. If they want to buy something bigger, I refer them to Robert or somebody else. So, all right, Robert, do you want to go next?
Sure.
Okay.
So I did a farmer's market for 14 years. It was good. I didn't have to go very far. Probably traveled about 15 minutes or 10 minutes away. But and the hours were good, 7 to 1. We usually left at 12:30. I enjoyed it very much. It's a great way to socialize, but I was working also during the same time. And I can say that, even if I was only there 5 or 6 hours, I still have to prep about the same amount of time at least. I didn't sleep well on Friday nights because I was always worried about missing it and waking up late. So that didn't happen. And I couldn't go out and party with my friends on Friday nights. But I decided to claim my Saturdays back. I wanted to play with the bees and I wanted to go to the pool. And so I've kind of retired from that. And mostly I still have some older customers from those farmer market days that I still a lot of honey to, a lot through the neighborhood. I only do one special event. And other than that, I sell a lot of mine in wholesale amounts. I'd rather sell it, to dispense with it and get it over with. And that's about what I do now. So got lots of beeswax to process. But I'm catching up.
And if I call on you and you don't want to say anything, just say so. So Marcia, it looks like you're next on my hit parade here.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, I'm super new. 3 years of harvest only, so very small, and I've only got 3 hives tops. So I started a website and only market there. And I tried Nextdoor, but now they want me to have a business page, and I'm too cheap. I don't want to pay for it. So I have a few friends that will post that they bought honey from me and say it's excellent. And that's how I get just kind of referrals. But my website has repeat business. And I mean, it just, I sell out before. I just don't have enough to supply a whole lot. But so the website, and then this year I'm going to print business cards, which I should have already done, and just drop them in for my repeat business too, so that they can turn around and give it to their friends. And that's how I sell out of all my honey. And that's all I do because I don't have very much.
I will speak. This is Matilda.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Mine is very small. I just mostly do word of mouth, friends.
Where are you from?
I live near Wichita,
Oh, good,
about
yeah.
15 miles outside of Wichita. And that's basically all I do is just individual sales with friends and word of mouth, and nothing online and no farmers markets.
Good. Thank
I
you.
currently have 4 hives. I've had 10 at various times. It fluctuates, but
All right. Michael, do you want to speak or not?
Yeah, sure. Can
Okay,
you hear me
cool.
now?
Yep.
Cheryl, she knows I want to speak. Okay. What have I been up to in the hunting department? Well, I've been having a hell of a lot of fun. I was downstairs on the other monitor making most of my time, but yeah, this is fourth year, no markets yet or anything. My first year, all I did was go to school, take classes and stuff. Uh, Started out with the horizontal hives. I really liked them, so I went to double deep horizontals. And that's quite true. You're not going to toss them on a pickup and go anywhere, but I'm using them to build up my colonies. About a week ago, I hauled my first 10 frame double deeps to an out yard I got kind of in between me and Cheryl's house. And thus far, I have not harvested any honey. I mean, maybe a gallon total because the first year that I had, I wanted to be sure that they had enough to make it through the winter. And then the second year, I goofed up and I did an OA treatment on them before I pulled the honey out. So we know what that meant. So this spring, I used the honey I was going to harvest to beef up those 10 frames that I sent to the out yard. I'm experimenting. They're insulated and they're double deep 10 frames. So I stacked Langstraw Supers on top of them. And I'm having a blast. I don't know how else to say it. Just one step at a time. I'm anxious to see what this fall brings. I really am.
Oh, great. Well, thank you.
You betcha.
Mhm.
Is that me?
Yes, that's you. Whoever you is. Who are you?
Oops, hold on. Moving so my dogs don't bark. My name's Stephanie, and actually it's a glove, but it zoomed in. I think it was supposed to have a bee on it.
Oh,
But
and where are you from?
So I'm actually from Ohio.
Oh,
And
good.
my stepmother recommended your organization and Zoom meetings to me. So, and she's actually from Midwest Missouri.
Oh, good.
So that's how I came about with your group. But I've been beekeeping for about almost 7 years now. And I do farmers markets, vendor markets, and then I have honey at a couple local small like delis around my area is what I do.
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, good. Someone from Ohio. I haven't seen Jackie from Saskatchewan today. Ryan, you're on.
Thank you, Julie. Because I'm still working full time, I don't have a lot of, and also managing the family farm, which is much broader than bees. I limit my exposure to 2 to 3 large events a year, like the Wichita Women's Fair, the Hillsboro Arts and Crafts, things like that. Principally, the purpose of those events is to drive traffic to a website. And that's where most of the honey I sell is from a website. The only wholesale I do is in Barber County where I live, and I sell wholesale to the local grocery store, primarily so I can get work done at the farm and my other work, because there was just too many people coming out to the farm, and so we started doing that. Principally, my market is I sell creamed honeys and a couple of flavored honeys and a few wax products, but that's about all I do.
Very good. Thank you. And he makes that wonderful hot honey that they sell at the fair.
They sold out, didn't they?
3 times.
Yeah.
3 times last year. Yeah. I can't keep it in the house, especially this time of year, with barbecue season coming, and yeah, it's a big seller.
Question, and I don't remember, forgive me, Jolie, if it was answered at that other Zoom. If you sell honey online, do you have to have
No, because you're selling to the end user.
but the shipping is atrocious.
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah.
You know, what I did, of course, yeah, I sell honey and creamed honey in glass jars. There's 11, it's a 12-ounce jar. I can get 11.5 ounces of honey in it, and it's heavy. And so what I started doing is I started doing a $10 flat rate shipping up to 12 jars. And I lose a little money at about 8 jars from 8 to 12. But there's enough profit built into the product where I don't lose money totally on there because I pay some of that. It works out pretty well. And my reasoning behind that is that if you're buying a dozen jars of creamed honey, you're probably not going to eat it all yourself. And most of that I sell in case lots goes to during Christmas time, November, first part of December, and those people are giving that honey away to somebody else at Christmas time. I do a fair amount of corporate sales too. Local companies in this area, they like to give their vendors and their customers a little gift from Kansas. And I mean, the first time I did it, I got a call from an oil company that does a lot of business in this part of the world, who happened to see my colonies and asked who I was, and they inquired. And she called me and she said, we want to give a bunch of honey away to our customers. And so I said, well, let me get a notepad. I didn't have a website or anything like that. And so I started writing down her order. And by the time I was through, it was $975 worth of honey. And she goes, well, how are we going to ship that? I said, well, I think I'll just drive it over to you. And she handled all the shipping to her customers. So that's a pretty lucrative business when you get into that corporate gifts. And I've done a few big orders for the Kansas Department of Commerce when they have people coming in for conferences and those sorts of things. And so it's a pretty good way to sell honey.
So Joe Patrick, you are next.
Okay, can everybody hear me?
Yep.
I'm Joe Patrick. I live in Olathe, Kansas. I live in a suburban area. It's not a HOA, but I sell out of my house. I live next door to a city park and to a water plant. And I have a lot of city employees come past my house. They have to go past my house to get to the park, to get to the water plant. And so the city has a regulation about it can't be obvious that you're selling something out of your house. So at 5 o'clock, when the city employees go home, my sign goes out front. And Friday night at 5 o'clock, my sign goes out front. On holidays, it goes out. I have a lot of foot traffic come past my house going to the park. We have 3 apartment complexes at the end of my street. And so, yes, there's a lot of foot traffic, and I've kind of got a little bit of a reputation in the neighborhood that I always have honey available. So I just want them to knock on my door. And the trick is figuring out keeping a supply, but I'm not overdoing it. But I faced some health issues right at the start of COVID, ended up retiring as a part of that. My husband has since retired. So, doing something like a farmer's market or something like that, there's just no way I can do that. I do have some bees out on property where the people invited me, and in the last 6 months they have retired. And then, so they opened up a little farm store right on their property. And when you visit their store, you can see my hives there. They asked me, would I like to supply them with honey to sell? And honestly, I didn't want to go through all the red tape and the regulations and paying for whatever was necessary. I said no. But John Speckman puts his honey in their little store. But I think I have probably helped sell the honey because visitors can see my hives right there. So, but that's about all I do. I have a lot of Hispanic people that come knock on the door. My husband does a pretty darn good job of speaking Spanish. And so he's my sales force. And if he's not around, we manage, we make do with the language barrier, but that's mostly what I do. But I would say if you are in a municipality, know what the city laws are. And honestly, they have, since I started beekeeping, the city has changed their regulations on how many hives you can have. And if anybody says anything to me, I'm going to plead ignorance and say, well, I'm grandfathered in. And because I think you're supposed to be limited to 2 hives, and no, I have a lot more hives than that. And honestly, you can see my hives, from the park, from the street, and the neighbors can see my hives. So another thing I did, in case some of you are in this position, before I ever purchased any bees and put them on my backyard, I did go around to all my neighbors and ask if they minded. One man was apprehensive, and then he came up to me a year later and said, I don't even know your bees are there. I don't have a privacy fence. It's just chain link. And anyway, it works for me, and I'm getting by with the city for now. So, and people in the park can see into my backyard, and they can also see, oh, they have beehives. So I have had some people knock on the door and say, do you sell your honey? Yeah, sure do. So anyway, that's my story.
So Jo is my partner in crime in this. She's the one who helps plan all the programs and helps come up with topics and speakers and that sort of thing. So she's a good person to have around. Jessica, you are next.
This is Casey. I'll speak for Jessica.
Oh, Casey. Okay. Yep.
Either one. But yeah, we started in bees last year, so this year is only our 2nd year. We ended up taking 3.5 gallons out last year out of just brood boxes that they become honey bound on. We sold them all to friends, family, and then what little was left just sold at our farmers market here in Concordia, Kansas, and Salina, Kansas, to get rid of probably the last 2 dozen that we had. And now we're just waiting on honey and supers to be done this year so that we can get some in supply again, because everyone's asking for it.
Very good. Thank you. Let's see. Brenda Mazanik, have you spoken? I don't think so. Brenda?
Yep, I'm here.
Good. Where are you from?
I'm in Colby.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I'm in Colby. Another one of those areas where I have more demand than I can produce honey. It's especially last year with the severe drought. Still trying to grow my hives. But I stayed on this evening because I'm truly interested in possibly purchasing some bulk honey in the future. I have a wellness facility downtown. I am in the process of the final steps of a commercial kitchen in the back. I have elderberries that I am producing elderflowers right now. And yeah, and also, like I said, I'm trying to do a little bit of wellness approach in my wellness facility with my honey and my elderberries. So, like I said, I would be interested in some bulk honey in the future, I'm sure. And any suggestions for the commercial kitchen? Any words of wisdom?
So my word of wisdom is, especially if you're doing it on your own, is before you do anything, have the inspector come out and advise you, because they'll be so honest and tell you what you need to do. And that is better than doing it and then having them come out and tell you you did something wrong.
Yes. I had my initial inspection. I just, I made some updates, and we should be good to go as soon as I file the paperwork.
Oh, well, good. Good. Yeah, that's good.
Brenda, like you're already far enough along that you're working on yours, but we learned like here in Concordia, like the Armory has a kitchen we can rent very, very cheap. A lot of churches have commercial kitchens. They're licensed.
Mhm.
So anybody that's just starting that doesn't want to, of course, have that outright expense the first couple of years, that's a good recommendation too.
Right, exactly. In fact, that's what I do. I work at an orchard park, that Geringer's Orchard part-time, and I rent their kitchen. They let me use it, but you still have to have it inspected for your business, and you still have to pay the state fee. So you don't go by their license, you have a license for their kitchen. Yep. And that's an important part of it. So
It's an incubator kitchen, right, Jolie?
Right. That's what it's called. Yeah. So.
And you have to get licensed to use that incubator kitchen.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I think I'm past all of that. Like I said, I just need to turn in the paperwork. So, and the fee.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good. That's great. I just want to say something about buying honey, because a lot of us that do farmers markets are sometimes in that position where some years we don't produce enough. You want to make sure and buy honey from someone who has honey that tastes like yours. Like for me to buy Jim Kelly's honey, Jim's honey is mostly from alfalfa. Well, we don't grow alfalfa here, and so his honey tastes totally different. But I can buy honey from, northwestern Missouri or Iowa or southeastern Nebraska, and that tastes the same. It's the same flowers of what we have here, or northeast Kansas. So that's really important to keep in mind if you're buying honey.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, for you, Jim Kelly would be a really good source, and he sells most of his honey in bulk. So
is that right? Yeah, because ours is right next. My hives are right at our alfalfa field.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, and Jim is a real fair person to work with too. So let's see. Did I miss anyone? I think I got everyone who's still on. So, does anyone have any, let's see, sorry, no, okay, well, cool. Well, thanks everyone. Someone asked for making and selling creamed honey and flavored and infused honeys. And I should remind everyone that all of our previous presentations are taped, and we have done that before, but I think that's probably one that is probably a good one to repeat. So, because that is something a lot of people like to use. So if someone has a suggestion for a future topic, we are all ears. So all you have to do is let Joe or I know. And good. Anything else? All right. I think we're done. Anything else, Robert or Joe?
Not that I can think of.
Thank you, Cheryl, and thank you, Susan. That was really good.